The title of Black Clover Chapter 368 is pretty crazy. Only the beginning. That is pretty damn exciting. Now, there is some major Black Clover news for us to talk about later on in the video. A lot of people seem to have the wrong idea about it, so I want to set the record straight and clear up any confusion. The Clover Kingdom is still being attacked by Lucius's army, and Captain Yami is still facing off against his dead friend Morgan, who has been turned into a paladin. Yami was protecting himself with his Black Moon spell. Morgan was impressed by how much stronger his old friend had become, but unfortunately, he could not spend any more time fighting Yami. Morgan admitted that he still had access to another type of magic thanks to his master Lucius, and wanted Yami to see it. The Black Bull's captain was shocked. Morgan now had access to both light and dark magic. He manifested the dual powers in the form of two swords. Dark power began rippling from his left sword. The darkness began pulling Captain Yami towards it. With a smile, Morgan told his former comrade that he more than anyone else should know just how powerful this magic is. And if it wasn't already obvious, he is saying this because Yami has dark magic. With that in mind, it would be pretty crazy to see Yami gain access to the power of this purified devil's dark magic too. That sort of thing would be similar to how spirits have access to the same magical attribute as their respective hosts. As the magic night drew near, Morgan unleashed a rapid-fire light beam assault, which Yami was forced to desperately repel. Yami could not believe it. Morgan's power output was off the charts. His own dark magic was being swallowed up by the void, which meant he was no longer protected by it. Morgan seized the opportunity and raked his sword across Yami's body. As blood escaped the mouth of his former comrade, Morgan apologized. Apparently, he had become the strongest magic knight all by himself. No duo required. Elsewhere, the many Lucius clones continued to swarm their opponent. They chased after Yuno relentlessly. Moving from point to point, the Spade Kingdom Prince was being overwhelmed. Yuno defended himself against one of the clones' attacks, but was still sent hurtling backwards. Marks watched a terrible scene unfold thanks to his communication magic. The former Wizard King's assistant was in a panic. He knew that Yuno fighting two Luciuses at once was unreasonable. The situation was dire. The Dark Wizard King's soul magic already provided enough of a challenge. But if Yuno gets hit even once, his Never Neverland spell will come undone. And without it, Lucius would also have access to his time magic. And if that happened, their forces would be wiped out in moments. The kingdom's many captains were all struggling to stay alive in their own battles against Lucius. Several of the magic knights were already at their limit. One of the evil Wizard King clones decided that it was time to put an end to the world. But right after that, a voice declared from the shadows that Lucius was not ending anything. From a dark portal came a massive bull made of anti-magic that had chunks of their guild house inside of it. The guild house was torn apart along with the raging bull when the Black Bulls fought to protect the Witch Queen's forest. But now it might just be more powerful than ever. This display also lines up with what we theorize about Asta's new ability to share anti-magic with his friends. If you haven't seen that video, I suggest you change that after this one. The Super Black Bulls emerged onto the scene and were ready to turn things around. Vanessa was already extending her fate-altering threads, which is definitely one of the more exciting magical abilities to be combined with anti-magic. According to them all, this was only just the beginning. Shadowy hands began to surround Captain Yami's falling body. From there, Noct and Ichika appeared in front of him, ready to protect him with all their might. It's really exciting to see Noct finally face his dead twin brother Morgan again. This is a matchup we have been talking about for a while now. There is also the fulfillment of Ichika stepping in too, since Yami is here. But at the same time, I am a bit disappointed that we didn't get to see Ichika be introduced to the rest of the Black Bulls. It's starting to feel like Libe all over again. Asta got to know his devil during his previous training arc, fought a war with him, and then we got another time skip. There was never any sort of discussion about him or even a welcome into the Black Bulls. Even now, Libe has barely spoken at all this arc, which I think is a shame. At this point, I'm hoping Lucius turns Asta's mom into a paladin, so Libe will at least have an excuse to speak. And speaking of Libe, we can't forget that while healing Captain Yami, Gray said that his body was more similar to Libe's than a human's. There is just no way that the Black Bulls will all be here putting in that work with power boosts, and Yami will just be left out. Noelle even gained the powers of a sea god. Tabata continues to tease us with the reveal of Devil Yami. Asta appeared near Yuno and was already cleaving into the defending arm of a Lucius before the anti-magic could completely cover his sword. The clone's eyes looked a bit wide, and so were Yuno's. Asta began shoving the Lucius as he called out to his brother. Looking over his shoulder with a smile, he wondered if his fellow Magic Knight was on the verge of losing before he showed up to save the day. With a smile on his face and the morale backing his heart, Yuno dismissed Asta's suspicions. They were now side by side as they parried their enemies' attacks. The kingdom continued to rise. They both declared that they would be the one who would defeat Lucius. And as they said this, the real Lucius had an expression that was a bit difficult to read. At the very least, he did not appear to be all too bothered by this development, which is peculiar. The boys then continued that after defeating the False Wizard King, they would become the real deal. They both felt the same way about all this and were still running headfirst towards the top of the totem. Now, this is officially the last chapter of Black Clover, at least in Shonen Jump. Apparently, the series is being transferred to another magazine by the name of Jump Giga. Essentially, Black Clover is going from a weekly manga to a seasonal one. A bunch of Black Clover haters have been trolling and saying that the series has been cancelled or that its end is being rushed like Bleach was. But I'm not so sure that's true. War culture in Japan is notoriously bad, but being a mangaka in Weekly Shonen Jump is its own special kind of hell. Traditions die hard in Japan, and change is often a last resort. Pretty much every mangaka in the business has assistants, but so much of the production still depends on them. Art, the story, and everything in between. Black Clover has been running on a weekly schedule since 2015. Before Black Clover, Tabata had been trying to get a hit series since the early 2000s. He's pushing 40, and the strain of a weekly schedule has become an issue for him. The creator of My Hero Academia has a similar problem and has been in poor health for a while now. He has author comments talking about blood coming from his ears and the fact that he now lacks the strength to even take simple walks. The latest chapter for that series was like 6 pages long. As someone who's been covering My Hero Academia for years, even without explicit details, it's not hard to tell that things are a bit off. And Horikoshi has been taking way more breaks than ever. He used to be pretty against them, in fact. In Tabata's case, although I'm sure he has his own health concerns, based on his past author comments, it seems like his wife is the one who is really struggling right now. It seems like he wants to be there for her, and a less frequent release schedule would align with those intentions. Now, as for what that means for us, well, it might be better than you think. A common issue people have with Black Clover's chapters is that they tend to be really short. Now that it's a seasonal series, we can expect chapters to be much longer and far more robust with even greater art. These days, Black Clover chapters tend to be about 11 pages or so, but at times, we've gone as low as 6 or 8. In Jump Giga, we're looking at something like 50 pages at least. It could even be as high as 80. One of Tabata's strong suits is showing without telling. He tends to pack a ton of details into the visuals of a series that can explain things before anything is even said. I honestly cannot wait to see what he's able to pull off with more time. We are also approaching the end of the series here. Black Clover was supposed to be ending this year, but based on these new developments, that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Regardless, thanks to this change, we can expect the final chapters of Black Clover to be some of the best we have ever seen from the series. Again, this is apparently only just the beginning, so we are definitely in for something really special here. Tabata even said that there are still quite a few stories that he would like to draw. Stories that he must draw even. So there's plenty to look forward to. The creator of Naruto used to say something similar in his author's comments. Presumably, he just means doing everything with Black Clover that he's planned to for a while now, and not like a new series or anything. So sorry to all the White Clover fans out there. With all that being said, because of this shift, Black Clover will be gone until December. Regardless, we will be here for Goat Clover when it decides to return, and hope that you'll return to the channel for the same thing. And don't forget to check out our video on Asta's new power.